in thinking about my journey in monastic life, what really stood out to me was this transition that I've made from being a volunteer in the community to being a volunteer in this community, in the monastic community. And so I wanted to just share a little bit about that, kind of looking at the similarities between volunteering in the greater community and getting the opportunity to offer service here to the Triple Gem. So I started volunteering in college and learning how rewarding it is really to contribute to the happiness and well-being of others, that actually brought myself happiness and well-being that I couldn't find anywhere else. And that it didn't just always come from, other people saying how grateful they were or demonstrating like what a good time they were having. I was remembering one of the things I did was this special needs swim program where myself and another person were paired up. There was a whole group of people paired up with people with special needs in the community. And the person, I was working with another person, another volunteer, and then we had a participant, Zach, who was like totally nonverbal. He didn't give any indication about his experience in the pool. He didn't have any mobility capacity. And yet this other volunteer and I, we just like spent this like 1 hour a week, floating him around in the pool on his back and talking to him like he heard what we were saying. And it was still very rewarding and really nourishing. And both the person I was working with and myself, we showed up each and every week for that commitment. And so looking at that, just seeing that the volunteering wasn't just feeding into my, people-pleasing tendencies of people telling me how great I am. Thank you so much for helping me. But it, really fed something deeper, even when I wasn't getting that kind of feedback from others. And I enjoyed volunteering so much that I wanted to retire as soon as I could and become a full-time volunteer. And so I've kind of made it. I've I've succeeded. And now, as a volunteer in the community here, I am able to contribute to, the life of the people around me and the life of people even outside the Abbey that I don't even know in this way that is far greater than I had ever imagined. And looking at monastic life versus volunteering, as a volunteer, I really had a lot of say over like when I was going to show up and, what kind of activities I wanted to do. Like fun things like swimming and skiing and rafting, teaching English, organizing events, like fun stuff. And now, I don't have quite so much, it's not so segmented here where offering service ends and where other activities begin. Offering service can bleed into many hours of the day. And this has actually been really good for my practice and my mind because it really challenges the mind that says, I want to just go for a walk and not deal with the food offering that just came in. And really see that like what is going to bring more happiness? Actually, probably really rejoicing in the generosity of others that are supporting the community and helping to take care of community resources. Like a walk is nice and I can, get some fresh air, but actually if I can show up to whatever is being, requested, whenever that's happening, that's actually going to nourish my heart even greater. And it's also helped me work with this kind of pretension, I'll say. Like when I was a volunteer and I could show up for the day, it was like I showed up in a way that I kind of projecting this image of how I want people to think of me, and they only needed to spend, 2 to 4 to 8 hours with me, so I could keep up that image pretty good. But here, since, we live with each other and we ask each other to, help us out in different ways at different times of the day, I've really had to, drop that because I can't show up that way all the time and develop more authenticity and this, yeah, a more actually kind heart that can accept a question or a request when I'm not expecting it, without a response of like, I'm not in that role right now. I'm not in the kitchen. Don't ask me about that. But instead to, yeah, have an attitude that is open to connecting with others in whatever way is needed at the time. As a volunteer, I was involved with many different projects with people from many different parts of the community, which I loved. And it also kind of reminded me of this analogy of like we're sometimes when we're looking at different spiritual traditions, we like are digging these like shallow holes, many shallow holes, and not going, deeply into one practice. And so here, getting to volunteer with the Abbey and having really my whole life dedicated to learning the Dharma, practicing the Dharma, actualizing it, and then being able to share it with others, although my efforts aren't so spread out with different groups in the community, my mind is actually changing much more than it was otherwise. It's not such, I'm not developing the kind of more outwardly skills, like whatever it was that I was volunteering in, I could get better at that task at hand. But here, going really deeply into this practice, getting to really impact my mind, which impacts the way that I approach any task. And as a volunteer, unexpected doors open. I brought up a couple of pictures to just show you, but I'll explain it a little bit first. One of the things I did as a younger person was I volunteered with an organization that teaches skiing and snowboarding to people with disabilities. And each winter they had this disabled veterans winter sports clinic where disabled vets would come and learn how to ski. And it was really amazing and inspiring, and people there it was like a life-changing experience for them. And I wanted to tell their story and tell the whole world what was going on because it was so amazing. And so here's just a couple of pictures from this year's event. I just went online and found some pictures from this last spring. And let's see. Oh. Thank you. So folks have an incredibly rewarding time learning how to ski and kind of bringing this freedom and joy and empowerment to their life since they've been faced with a disability and living a really different life than they did likely before they went into the military. And so I was volunteering with this camp and so inspired by their stories that I wanted to share them. And I was also learning how to be a radio DJ at the time. This is actually a more recent picture, pretty shortly before I moved here. And I took this opportunity to learn how to do recordings out in the field and edit those recordings and put them on the radio. And then that set me up to be able to be the director of the youth radio program, where I got to work with hundreds of kids over the next 10 or so years and teaching them how to be radio DJs. And so through volunteering, I was really able to, this door opened to really meaningful work as well. And as a monastic, the unexpected doors, maybe aren't so dramatic. Some of the things I think of recently actually is the trip to Taiwan and the opportunity to connect with Taiwanese culture and to connect with Chinese Buddhism in this way that I had no idea even existed, because we're here in, little Newport and the whole town doesn't really know about us. Buddhism isn't really acknowledged, or many people in our whole culture don't even know about it. And then going to Taiwan, where there was just 200 of us, all working together, all moving together, It seemed, although I do think that I don't think everyone in Taiwan is Buddhist, but I think that there's much more awareness of monastics in Taiwan in general. And so that cultural experience was pretty incredible. But then also the unexpected doors that open when I work with the afflictions. Like this morning, I was moving through the breakfast line, and I was really excited for oatmeal with raisins. And the raisins were not put out. And so I was pretty disappointed. And, you know, as someone who's in the role of a kitchen manager, I almost considered putting the raisins out when I went through the line, but I decided not to because half the people had already been through the line and I wasn't the one making breakfast. So I just got my breakfast and decided to just be happy with it because I had plenty. And then I went back to my seat and it was totally fine and delicious. And just learning how to cultivate this mind of contentment, even as the afflictions arise, that they change, and to learn to shift the story in my mind from like, this is the worst thing ever, how could you do this, to like, oh man, I'm so glad that we have breakfast and there's plenty of food and I can eat with a happy heart. Even just those unexpected doors, those unexpected moments are not as big and grand, but they're very rewarding and nourishing. And then something else is really getting to be part of something bigger than myself. As a volunteer, I got to, you know, put my time and energy into helping others and making the community a better place. And then this is just like amplified, you know, tremendously with bodhicitta and this aspiration to become a fully awakened Buddha and to contribute to the world, not only helping people in this life, but to, you know, develop the whole path inside my heart so that I can help people also get out of cyclic existence. And so really taking this long-term view of being part of this, path of real freedom and liberation and awakening for each and every sentient being. And helping people have, you know, the food that they need and resources that they need is important and essential if someone is going to have the space and energy to practice the path. But really turning towards cultivating my good qualities in my heart here and looking at this long-term aspiration really amplifies this being part of something bigger than myself and contributing in a more, this long-term, more amplified way. And this actually helps me be more hopeful too, because as I'm volunteering, you know, when I was volunteering at the food bank, it was like the same people and more coming into the food bank each week. It wasn't that there was less people coming to the food bank because we were giving them food. You know, the need is only growing greater and greater. And just looking around and seeing that people's needs are increasing, they're not decreasing, no matter how hard I try to volunteer and put myself out there, the situation is seeming to get more challenging. But when I can take this long-term view of wanting to help myself and others to full awakening, it doesn't have that same kind of time limitation of like, I need to fix the world now. But instead to just really have confidence in this path and the direction that we're going, because eventually, step by step, you know, we all are creating the causes to, you know, continue along and have good ethics, and that's just going to keep, you know, multiplying and multiplying as we are supporting others to also meet with the Buddha's teachings and find in their heart that they are, you know, happier when they act ethically, and just how that will continue to build. So to look at things on this more long-term time scale brings me more hope than looking at things in just what I can do in this one life. And so volunteering is often really about the task that I'm doing at hand, what I'm showing up to do. And here at the Abbey, that's really shifted because we look at the way that we're doing things and the mind that we are bringing to our offering service tasks. So this helps me really get out of this kind of task-focused mindset that I've been in for a very long time and see how is it that I can show up in a way that is kind and supportive, in a way that is actually helpful and communicate to people, maybe to see what they need help with. Because I could volunteer and I can show up to different organizations and still have a lot of judgment and anger and ruminating in my mind as I'm going through activities. And I can still find that I do that here. But here there's just the support to really look at that and look at our motivation and why we're doing things, and to check in and see, is it a virtuous mind that we have and to rejoice? Or is it a non-virtuous mind, in which case we're developing the tools to really turn that and see things from a more realistic view. So it's been amazing to live the dream here so far at the Abbey and get to contribute service. And I should probably give myself this talk more often, because sometimes I, can get, I want that unscheduled time, and we don't have it very often. But then, what kind of merit and virtue am I going to cultivate in this unscheduled time? Probably not the same as if I am reaching out to help others, cultivating a good attitude that is generous in my mind, that sees others through these eyes of kindness, so that no matter what kind of situation arises, there's that potential to be helpful. And so, yeah, it's been pretty amazing to transform this aspiration to help the world into, easing into Abbey life, and seeing really that the challenges that come up are where there's a lot of growth that happens. And bodhicitta is this tremendous source of energy and inspiration. And so I encourage us all to really continue to take the opportunities to offer service with a lot of joy, and really rejoice that this is what we get to do in our life today, in our life for as long as you are here, and that there's really nothing better that we could do, in my opinion.